Do you know Orion?
No, I don't think so.
Very funny guy. He had a joke about the thing about the term ugly is you can't say someone's ugly.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I just say he has Matt Braunger face. And he said that, and I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. But I was like, it was so mean, but it was so funny.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if someone's going to watch this and be like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy?
Yeah.
They're going to hate that guy.
Like, and you know what's funny is this is not the reasonable reaction, but anytime if I'm thinking about myself in that scenario and someone being like, that was mean, I'm like, you saying that's mean means you agree. If they were like, oh, this guy, he's got Brad Pitt face, you just be like, what?
Yeah.
But it's like saying like, he's got Matt Braunger face, you'd be like, aw. It's like, hey, calm down.
I could take the ball. Like he said it, and I immediately looked at the audience like confused, like gave this lost look, like, am I ugly?
Which is a true, that is the mark of a real comic. Being like, I'm not here to like make my own joke. I'm here to just be like, I'm helping you get this joke off.
I'm not gonna flip them off.
Yeah.
Anything. Yeah. It's, just you keep the act moving.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Tank Top Talks with Matt Braunger. I am your host, Matt Braunger, the host of Tank Top Talks. Tank tops are ridiculous, but they feel good, and the reason why they feel good is because they're ridiculous. Demi Adejuyigbe, excuse me.
You had it before. I believe in you. You got psyched out. Go for it.
Demi Adejuyigbe.
Adejuyigbe. I tell people it's like, did you eBay?
Did you eBay?
Yeah. Should have given you the mnemonic before, but I was like, oh,
it's okay.
Yeah.
I want all this in, by the way. It has to be an in. Let's talk about your tank.
Yeah. This is I'm actually trying, I want to say it was a tank, but I got this. I went to see The Killers in Las Vegas. They did like a 20th anniversary tour for their first album. I went with a bunch of friends, and I was like, well, I got to get a shirt. And I think this was a tank. It might have been one that I cut. I have a few tanks that I've just cut the arms off. Yeah. And over time, it has just gotten looser and looser to just feeling like a tunic on me.
Yeah.
But I like it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That looks like one of those shirts that you pay $100 to be distressed like that. Because it just lays on you.
Totally.
Like that.
And it might have cost me $50. So it's still expensive.
Concert shirt.
Yeah. I love a tank top.
Yeah, me too.
How did you start doing this? Like, what were you just like? I don't see men in tank tops a lot, or what?
No, I had a friend who was have a friend who's a writer, and like retired military guy, and he was one of those guys who kind of stepped in and was like, you need to be doing more of this, this, and this, and this, because he used to promote shows in Bend, Oregon, and other areas in Central Oregon. And he's promoted a couple of my shows. And he was like, he always did that thing where I'm not a giant comedian, but I do have people that every show I do, I'll have someone, hey, I drove 3 hours.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, you should be bigger than you are, kind of thing. He was much more about me than I was.
Sure.
That way.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, let me just try to come up with some funny stuff for a project that I will.
He's like, you gotta be making podcasts. You gotta be getting out. You're getting your name out there.
Yeah, but he said, why don't you have a podcast? I'm like, I've had a couple. They never really took off. He's like, they don't take off. You just keep doing them. And he was like, yeah, okay. He's like, I was like, but I don't have a good idea. He's like, you don't need a good idea. You're the idea. You're the thing.
You're the IP.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, give me your stupidest idea. And I was like, it's called Tank Top Talks. 2 guys have tank tops. Me and a guest have a tank top. And we each talk about what they mean to us and then go from there. He's like, that's the show. And so that I was like, I'm going to run with this.
Yeah.
And it's been, I don't know, 20 episodes so far. It's still young, but it's definitely been so much more fun.
Yeah.
Because we are sitting in these ridiculous tops.
You feel like you're a little, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the vacation feeling, but it does feel, it's like a costume where you're just sort of like, I'm not myself. I can be a little looser.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had Ben Wise on an episode we recorded before yours. And he's like, he's got his like muscle tank on. He's like, I don't really wear tank tops. What was this? And I was like, more to the point, I realized the first person I said it to was Ben, was it's impossible to take someone seriously wearing a tank top.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's and so it's like, it's almost like this thing of almost like an acting exercise where you have to play like, do a thing from Hamlet, but you can only do it on one foot kind of thing. And so you kind of, with this, it's a fun thing where I've never had a guest who hasn't. I mean, you seem remarkably relaxed because you're very comfortable in them.
I think I just wear them a lot.
Most people don't. And
Right.
most people feel really. I like how silly I certainly feel wearing pants and a tank top, sitting in a chair, talking to someone. And I think
There's something about the combo with pants that in my head I'm just sort of like, well, what's the weather like? What is it, hot or is it cold? Why are you?
Yeah. That was one of the inspirations. Was hence the logo. Was Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Absolutely.
You know, it's the tank top tucked into pants kind of thing. Sitting much like you,
right,
with your muscly arms. There you go. Yeah.
I feel like there's a vanity to it of like, I like getting the arms out.
Yes.
And tucking it in feels a little like, what's this guy's deal? And I think
that's a lot.
There's that combination that I really am just like, I like it. It's weird, but it's me now.
Well, I grew up in the 80s and we had guys like with impossible bodies.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, Jean-Claude Van Damme would always have the tank top tucked into very tight pants,
right,
which is a really hard look to pull off with a normal body.
Right, yeah.
But I like the fact that I feel like anyone can pull anything off with the right level of confidence.
Yeah, it's like there's a thing that a friend has always said to me that I sort of had to ingrain, where it's just sort of like 70% of being hot is just telling yourself that you are hot, and it's like 70% of pulling anything off is just being like, I'm pulling it off. And there's a confidence that you exude. People are just like, no, it works. And it's like, you just gotta trick yourself into saying it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that how you kind of found your road? I have to ask, because you kind of are one of those people who came out of nowhere as a writer, as a performer, as a comedian. And it was one of that thing of like, I'm not one of those like dickheads who just like, well, who's this jerk or whatever. It's just like, I've seen 1,000 people come and go, but it was one thing. You kind of slid in and almost everybody was just like, oh yeah, Demi's hilarious. And he's just here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I was doing a lot of stuff online and pretending that I was sort of around. And then I got very lucky that when I moved to LA, and B, when I was still just like young and in LA and like doing internships, I was doing stuff where I was around comedians a lot. Oh. And then it felt like it was like, oh yeah, we know him, he's around. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's around and performing. And it's like, oh, he's around performing on the same. It just felt like I slowly was like invisibly just being around in a way.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. And I do feel like I think it might have been smoother for me if I still feel a little like imposter syndrome of just like, oh, I'm not a comedian. I'm just around. I'm here. But sure. I think that it's probably a lot easier when you do just tell yourself like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, the term is stand-up comedian. It's not you're a comedian if you're holding a mic.
Yeah.
Or what, you know, it's anyone who's funny, generally speaking, I would say, can kind of be put in that category if they perform.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
And I think there's also a thing of like performing being so different. And people are like, oh, so you're stand-up. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't, it's not, I don't. And it's like, ultimately it's like, yeah, sure. But I think it's just, you get all these rigid definitions and then find that it's hard to define yourself in that same way. And then a lot of times it's just sort of like you find the thing that you like and you're like, I'm in the same league with these people, but I don't do what they do. So I don't feel like I'm them.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I think is important.
Yeah.
You got to just differentiate yourself somehow.
Absolutely.
You know, and I remember like you've kind of become, I was joking with like we were just talking about like, oh, you're a little boy. Kind of thing. Like when you came on the scene, you were like a kid.
Oh yeah. You
were like a full-on kid.
Absolute child.
Now you're a man.
That's right.
Look at you.
I've hit puberty finally. I do feel it's weird to look back on stuff and just be like even just from my first few years in LA and just be like, that is a different person entirely.
Yeah.
It's just time, how it works for everyone. But I feel, it's very strange to just be like, yeah, I guess I'm an adult now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was trying to remember because you were on my podcast before this one and we were talking about, I remember being in, my wife and I had driven across the country in year 2000 because we had this 6-week-old and we're in New Orleans when they called the election.
Yes.
And seeing video of you on top of a car singing at the gas station by my house, packed and everyone's dancing.
So great.
And we're like, yeah, it's pretty great being here in New Orleans, but God, it'd be cool to be home right now.
Yeah.
You were just the image of the
which
guy.
Felt great. It was very funny when people were getting excited for the last election, which, fool us once. But when that happened, people were just like, are you going to go back again? I'm like, the energy is really not the same. It was a once in a lifetime thing. And it was truly just the joy of being like, we've been stuck inside for half of a year.
Yes.
We are dealing with this like insane demagogue that no one likes. And it's just like the sort of the catharsis of being like, just fucking go out and do something felt so good. And it doesn't feel the same now to be like, Hey, we're back to Biden, or maybe I don't know.
And we used to have it was this like inside anxiety. I'm tired of being inside.
Yeah.
And now we have this anxiety everywhere.
Yes, it's just the constant hum of the country. But that was I think back on it very fondly.
Yeah. No, me too. That release of I remember just being outside and realizing, and I see pictures of myself wearing masks on the streets. Just being like, wow. I did the very last show I did was in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there was one guy that had it. And he was like patient zero. He was
like
in the
had
hospital.
COVID?
He was in the hospital. And so I remember just being like after a show outside a bar with a bunch of people on the stoop looking at the hospital. What do you think he's doing? Kind of thing.
It's like that feeling in a zombie movie or something where you see that on the news and everyone just standing outside. Yeah, that's crazy.
It was like that. And after my show, we didn't even know about the mask thing. This is during the wiping period.
Yes, yeah.
Wipe everything.
Right.
So I would wipe the mic. And after the show, people would come by and say, hey, good show. And we'd touch elbows. Don't shake hands.
Yeah.
Hands is what does it.
Man,
we were so clueless.
Month. And remember when people would, like, there was just a run on grocery stores of people getting toilet paper and water.
Yeah.
That felt, it did feel like everyone, we didn't know what to do. We just knew that there was a thing, a problem.
Yep.
And it was very funny. It's funny looking back on it now and just being like, okay, well, we were panicked at first and then we sort of settled into it. And now it's the complete opposite where people are like, it's still around and everyone's just kind of like, yeah, I know, but what can we do?
Kind of hoping it takes me down.
Yeah. So. It's just like, well, let's hope it hurries up.
Yeah.
But yeah, where were you going in that road trip?
We originally were going to go to my folks in Portland, but then there was that massive fire in Ashland, which is in between.
Yeah.
And through a lot of Oregon, it was just like you can't drive up there. And we were going to do that one first to, hey, come meet the kid. And then we'll go the next one. Maybe we'll go to Boston and where my wife is from. And she's like, let's just throw everything in the car and live out of hotels.
Yeah.
And we did. And it was the best. It's one of those certainly once in a lifetime. We can't do it again, that kind of road trip with the kid. I don't know, maybe ever. Maybe not until she's like at least a teen.
Do you fly with your daughter?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot.
What age were you like, okay, we can fly with her now? Or was it just like instantly like it's fine?
We actually flew to Mexico when they started loosening the restriction a little bit, and we talked with like an infections expert at our practice, our hospital, and he just walked us through it. He's like, the big thing is once you're on the plane and they shut all the doors, you're safe because they constantly circulate the air and flush it kind of thing. It's just the airport. Don't stand in groups. Don't wait in a long line for coffee. Like a lot of stuff like that. And kind of your kid's not going to wear a mask at this thing, so you just got to keep moving,
God,
I
didn't even think, I think we were talking briefly about this before, but I think a lot about the notion of me being a father and how much something I'm like, I want to do it. And there's so much stuff, little things like that where I'm just like, I didn't even think about that. And the first 2 years of a child's life terrifies me conceptually, where I'm just like, anything, like a breeze could take this out. Right. And I'm just like, just thinking about being like going to an airport and being like, I have to be on guard now. I'm like, that's terrifying.
If there was something, like I think about how this is a wild little descriptor, but I think Elvis Presley got addicted to pills by having to take taking a lot of Benzedrine on watch.
Yeah.
So the Army got him addicted to drugs. Up till then, he was sober.
Right.
Never even had a drink. And taking Benzedrine to stay awake, you get it on your rations for you get used to at least, which is Benzedrine is like high level speed.
Right.
And if you ever taken any uppers, it's a real good time. But you
heard it here first, gang.
So you basically, he probably stared at the horizon at nothing and had the best fucking time and kept wanting that back. I would compare like the time you have where not all of it, so much of it is like the first 2 years, like, holy shit, stop crying, I want this kid sleep or whatever. But you're still on this high the whole time of having this thing to care for that just supersedes anything, that when that kid goes to sleep, there's no better feeling in the world.
Right,
and you're like, I get to sit and listen. You listen to a song and it's the best song you ever heard in your life.
Yeah, it's like I'm free.
You watch a
for
TV,
couple
you're
of
like a
hours.
TV show, you're just like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
What's this called? Below Deck? Amazing. You know? So like it kind of elevates everything else. And you're not, of course you're deathly afraid, but you also have that thing, if it is as special to you as it should be, you know, it is this thing, you're chemically attached to this human being, and you have this feeling where you finally have a cause. Speaking just as a guy, you always I think we always kind of want to have a mission.
Yeah, all the time.
We like these, you know, like
I picked up several hobbies just because I'm like, I need something to do.
Yeah,
like, what's my purpose here?
Secure the perimeter.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's this thing where you have this thing that is undeniable, you know, and it's great. So yeah, you have those moments where you're scared as shit. I mean, I remember my wife had when she was very, very pregnant, she had a scare where there's this weird pain. We couldn't figure out what it was, and I almost forgot how to call an ambulance. And then eventually they were just like, just get her here, and we got her in the car, and I had to drive across town. And I remember being like thinking I'm gonna fucking crash the car or whatever, and got her in there, and then they took her upstairs, and I'm just in the waiting room, and I'm just in literal hell. But I also knew I got her there as safely and as quickly as I possibly could, kind of thing. So there are those moments like that where you're like, all right, this is so fucked up. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. This is a hellish feeling, you know?
Right.
But they're so rare, you know, for the most part. So like, you know, you saying, oh, I want one, you're 90% there already.
Sure. Yeah.
You know? I mean, I literally was like, for years, if she wants one, I'll try it.
Right.
You know? Seriously.
Yeah.
You know? And then it was just like, oh, this is my favorite. I think Patton had a great take where he wrote about how, you know, he's such a super nerd. He's like, anything you've nerded out about in your life pales. It all goes away.
Yeah.
You know, compared to this.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There was a writer who did a podcast who, like, I feel like I've always been it's always been something I'm like, I want this. I think I want this. I don't know how to justify it. I don't know how to describe this feeling of like, do I want to be a father? But I think I do. And then I listened to her say on a podcast that she was like, she said, I had kids for the same reason I tried mushroom for the first time, which is just, I thought it'd be fun. And I'm like, that is exactly how I feel about it. I think it would be fun. Like, I'm like, it's terrifying, but I'm also like, I think it'd be a blast.
Dude,
and I'm like,
is.
I think I'd have a good time. So I'm like, yeah, I think I want to do it.
Well, and you're also a creative person. You nurture your own ideas.
Yeah.
And you're not you didn't get into this, correct me if I'm wrong, to be a rock star or to, you know, be like the biggest,
no.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You had it because you're an artist.
Yeah.
To have these things that are inside you take form and come out and be witnessed. Where I think when somebody gets into the business just to be famous and shit, those are probably shitty dads.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and with to her point, I was like, well, I'd never lived with a woman I dated ever till my wife. And we'd broken up 3 times. And then she wanted to get married. And I was like, I could care either. I don't really care about it either way, but I'll try it. Tried moving in. Best thing ever. Tried getting married. Best thing ever.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just try having a kid. And it was that thing.
Yeah.
Again, best thing ever.
You're like, I'll place your trust in the notion that like, this is working out and I like this one. Like, let's give it a shot.
Me, yes. It's worked. The leaping without, not even before looking, not being able to look.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know. But you won't know until you leap.
Right.
Kind
Totally.
of thing. Yeah.
I'm curious about, because you said the thing about you broke up 3 times and then eventually got married. I'm someone who's done that in every serious relationship I've been in, to the point that now I'm single and I'm like, it's actually kind of, I don't want to do that again. It's scary. How did you not get afraid of it again the last time before getting married?
What kind of sealed the deal for me was moving in with her, and because my therapist was like, the worst thing that happens is you just move out, man. You know, just try it.
Yeah.
And it was that thing of like, oh, just try it. And I think you kind of got to go just try it with, even when you have a big part of you going, you need to get out of this, because you're always going to have that. I've never really, if I look back, I've never been blessed. I've dated a decent number of people, never been blessed with the perfect moment of, God, I just know, you know, like I see, sorry, Christian fundamentalists a lot going like, I knew she was the one when I saw her across the high school dance floor. I'm like, okay, you know, then what happened 7 years later when that you got that voice in your head, you know, and I think you're not being honest if you say that voice was never there.
Sure.
I just and it's like I could have ignored it for other people for sure, but it was just this thing where I'm like, she and I remember saying to my dad on the phone when we broke up, I was like, we have a great time, but you can't base a relationship on just having a good time. And he's like, why not?
Yeah.
Like my dad was like, that sounds crazy.
You should. It should be all good time.
Yeah, like, yeah, you know, and he's like, there's something in there. It's not like, you know, you even going back to good times, you don't really like, you rarely have a good time with someone you're like, that guy sucks.
No, yeah. You're not like, it's because of me. It's not them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's nice though.
But like I said, I mean, it happened late for me in life and it's still great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, if I could go back and there is a selfishly part of me who goes, oh, wow, what if I had this much more time, but it wouldn't be the same kid.
Right.
You know? So it's like, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
So you got time and you're like, what, 24?
I'm 33. I'm a young buck still.
Young
though.
buck.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I feel like I'm at the age now where I'm like, I guess I should start thinking of myself as like getting older, but it's different for men because it's very comfortable getting older where I'm just sort of like,
right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's the world will value me more as I age.
And I want that for women so bad.
So bad. Yeah. Like, I also, it's like I have a lot of female friends who like stress about like the sort of the feeling of this middle age coming on and just the idea of like pregnancy no longer becoming viable and the world sort of like seeing them as no longer viable and whatnot. And it makes me sad because I also think that a lot of the women I know and just women in general become so much more confident when they get older. And it's so cool and so hot and so like a thing that I feel like I'm just like, you are so much more as a person valuable because of your confidence and your self-assuredness. And just the notion that it's like, for you, it's all just beauty and youth. I'm like, that sucks. And also I think is humiliating because I'm just like, what? You're giving people a time span of maybe 5 years where I'm like, that's good because you look away. That's good. I'm like, it sucks.
It does suck. Yeah. I mean, and I had a friend who kind of nailed it. And I think I've said this on a show before. She's around my age and she does yoga and stuff. And she's like, I don't want to look young. I want to look good.
Yeah.
And if you just want to be, you know, like prideful about your looks, which that's fine.
Sure.
But it's like the whole thing of like chasing youth. That's where you fuck up.
I completely agree. And I also think it's sort of like, it's a thing you can't catch, but it's also a thing that even if you were to catch it, it's just sort of like, well, now we know how old you are and you strived to grab this thing that's always going to be, it's like, I have this analogy about wealth that it's like a mound of dirt that you're standing on top of. And because you're standing on top of it, it's constantly eroding. You're like, just get more dirt, just get more dirt. And it's like, well, it's always going to be, it's always going down. And that's how it feels to like chase beauty. Where it's just like, you're going to get older. And it's like, just get more dirt, just get younger. It's like, okay, but it's moving constantly.
Yeah.
Or you could just stand on the ground and be like, pretty good here.
This is okay.
Yeah, this is solid.
Yeah, firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, it's either those like too much stacked up. It's just, you're teetering.
Yeah.
That's why you're so full of anxiety because you're afraid of losing it. And yeah, because it's in the end, it's all you're based upon, you know?
Yeah.
Do you talk about this stuff in your act? Like talk about like want to be a dad or anything like that stuff?
No, I feel like, and I don't have an act right now because my special just came out, but I feel like a lot of my comedy feels so impersonal where it's just sort of like, I feel like someone can watch my show and just be like, I don't really know much about him. I know he's been doing this bit. And I'm like,
which I still love that though.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, it's so fun. I think that there are times where I watch other comics and I'm just like, you have such a good like sense of self and it comes across on stage and like you are clearly self-confident but able to take yourself down in this way that I think is very like disarming and cool. And I'm like, I don't have anything like that. And I also think that part of it is for me, I don't have a lot of like strong memories of my life. So I see people talk about like things that happened to them when they were kids and I'm just like, what could I even, what
really?
happened? Yeah.
Well, because I remember you had a bit about your mom talking to you.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's always, it's like on the few occasions when I did do stand up, I would feel like, okay, I've got a little something about my mom, like, and being a Nigerian parent and sort of, and it's all just these general things that I'm like, I can grasp onto little ideas like that, but as a whole, I feel like people have like stories of like this big thing that happened when they were a kid or this or this or this. And I'm like, I really think it's just like ideas that I spin out more into being like, this isn't everything, but there's something here and I can turn it into something.
Okay.
And I think that I shied away from stand-up because I didn't feel like I had stories about my life that I was like, this is exciting to tell. Or I felt like I would go on, like things would happen to me and then I'd just be like, I don't have a way to tell this. It doesn't make me feel like, oh, this is a story that involves someone else, or it's like making fun of someone or something where I think I get very like in my head about just how to tell a story like that and not have a person see it and be like, oh, they're talking about me, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you didn't think you passed like the relatability test a little bit.
I think it just felt a little unformed where I was like,
okay.
oh, I don't think this is a formed memory in my head. So a lot of it is just me going, this would be funny to have here. It's like sort of just pivoting to being like a nugget of an idea and mostly just something that I've made up. And I was like, that's not as fun and doesn't feel as like it flows as well as everything I see of other people. So I felt like my act became a lot of being like the stuff that I put online where it's like bit related or like satirical or some sort of take on a thing and just playing that out in person. And I'm like, I feel like I'm talking about it like I don't like that.
No, but like, okay, let's steer into the strengths then a little bit. Like the stuff you put out online is incredibly produced.
Thank you.
I mean, the September stuff. Yeah. You walked in and I was like, do you still do this? No. You know?
Because it's just so much work.
I know.
Yeah.
Holy shit. The thing with the garage and all those kids.
Yeah.
Bonkers.
Really fun to do though. Like I every so often I'm just like, I wish I could find another thing that just wasn't a yearly date.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just, for people that don't know it from the song September.
Do you remember the 21st night of September?
Yes. So when the 21st night of September every year, Demi would do a video. Go back and watch them. They're mind blowing. And yeah, you play how many instruments?
I was trying to count the other day because someone asked me, and then they were just like, even just having to count is annoying. I'm like, sorry. The thing is, I would say I play 3 instruments to a level where it's like if someone handed it to me, it's like play it now. I'd be like, yeah, I can play this confidently fine. There are a number of instruments I play where I'm like, I could eke out a tune. I would never, if you were like, I need someone who plays this tonight, I'd be like, absolutely not.
I got it.
But it's like, I think I have in my house maybe 12 different instruments, but like multiple guitars and like multiple pianos and a drum set. But I just have like a room that is my music studio essentially.
Got it.
Home.
Yeah.
But I just also love just trying to play new instruments and being like, I want to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, I loved the story we talked about the last pod, to crib this, but just how they called the election and you just walked outside and started playing something. Yeah. And then there was a guy who just rolled up with like a bagpipe. Yes. You just heard him. And you guys just started jamming.
Oh my God.
And then you guys just wandered down the street and people stared playing music. Yeah. It's like, that speaks to
fucking Pied Piper stuff.
Where we were.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I don't think that would happen as organically now, where people are just like, well, please play with me.
It'd be just a sigh of relief of just like, all right, well, let's move on now. But I think there's also something about music that not only fulfills that, like, I think we talked about like men needing a task or needing a hobby. And I feel like a lot of time, like, I'll probably do it tonight. Sometimes I get home and I'm just like, I know that my neighbors can't hear me when I play drums, so I will just play drums for hours.
Why can't they hear you?
I share no walls with anyone.
Okay.
Where there's like an apartment building next to me, and I've had like friends, like every so often a friend comes over, I'm like, can you just hit the drums really loud? And I go out and stand in my backyard, and I'm like, I can't hear it that well.
That's cool.
And it's like just over the sounds of, I think, the neighborhood or the night or whatnot. So I'll just play drums for hours, and just, I feel like there are times where friends come over and we'll just jam, and I'm like, there's something very communal about being able to play an instrument or being able to try and eke out a tune on an instrument that I think is like so special. Yeah. And I think that it's like, as much as I'm like, I like playing drums, what I really like is like, I like playing with something, whether it's like to a track and I feel like I'm playing with the other musicians or playing to a thing or playing with people, just feeling like the energy of like live, like collaboration. And I think that is, that's something that I get really obsessed with. Cause I'm just like, oh, okay. If I learn another instrument, I can do that in another way as well.
That's cool. Yeah. I've always felt like there's like, you can have any superpower, go. Yeah. Speaking a language, like it's so stupid.
Yeah.
No, but I would love to be able to. I'm obsessed with this guy who does these videos where he just walks up to people in like public squares and he can eke out a conversation in almost any language kind of thing, and just really obscure ones. And he'll find people and they'll be like, how do you know that language that my village and another one share.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And it's just
so
to see their
awesome.
eyes light up.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing when you can communicate through music. You can jam and kind of build a thing. I remember being backpacking through Europe and we were in Amsterdam and we wandered into like a cafe. It was a jazz thing. And I was at the time kind of obsessing over like Chet Baker and some of the weird songs and stuff. And like, I was like, you guys know this? And like the band's like, yeah. And they were like, hey, sing that song. And I did it. And I remember just getting off and being like, oh, thank God. And like someone was like, hey, the drummer was like really smiling when you hit that one note because he was hoping you'd hit that one note.
Yeah.
It was just like, so it's such a raw, pure connection.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, I completely agree. There are times where I just go and see like people play, and even when it's like just it's friends or it's just like my friend every Halloween does this thing called Scarioke where they just have comedians like sign up to sing a song and like they perform it with a live band, and it's so fun. And just like there's an energy to just watching people play and just sort of seeing them smile at each other and like sort of cue things in that I feel is just so like it's a language, but you're watching like people conduct in a live way. And it's so special and so electric, and it makes me feel so alive. And
yeah. Well, and I also look to where what we do. A lot of times people are like, oh, I could never. How? That is get in front of all those people. Oh, wow. You are really something.
Right.
And you're like, thanks. But when I look at like a session musician and I'm just like, there's nobody like her.
Yes.
There's nobody like him.
Yeah.
And to see that my friend does a thing like your thing, but he does these cover band parties and shows where he flies in guys that he knows from like Michigan and stuff. And it'll be this guy who's like, sounds just like Eddie Van Halen and stuff. And watch like, Brendan Small, who they send him guitars to test him out, you know, from Metalocalypse and stuff.
So sick, yeah.
Yeah, and he's bonkers. And I'm like, oh, what song are you guys doing? He's like, Creeping Death. And I'm like, that song is fucking impossible. I don't know a lot about music, but it's like when I was like in junior high, I played guitar and piano and stuff a little bit. But it's like I know the stuff that's like that's impossible. Yeah. I remember being in I forgot I was at like a CVS and like Rio was playing by Duran Duran. That bass line is how?
It's incredible.
It's so fast.
Yeah. Also, the drums on that are extremely I think they're a little synthetic, but I was listening to it the other day and I tried to play the drums because I was like, I got to get that double pedal down. It's very fast paced in so many ways, but misleading. It seems simple because I think it's just so like bouncy, but yeah. That song is so good.
Yeah. So, but to see someone that can just be like, oh, what key? And then just off to the races.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I think that I like drums because I'm just like, there's no musical notes. There's no like a key or anything. It's just rhythm. And I always tell people, it's like, the dumbest people drum. In a way that I'm like, I say it to when they're like, I could never do it. I'm like, sorry, the dumbest people drum. But I say that with a lot of things where it's like the dumbest people are directing and writing and doing all this stuff. And like, just be like, sure. Don't let yourself get psyched out about that.
Yeah.
But also I'm like, it is very much a caveman instrument in a way that I think is very like soothing, where it's like there's no like synchronicity of chords or whatnot, and you are being the backbeat of so much of this music, and all you got to do is just stay on rhythm.
Right.
Or if you make a mistake, then it's like, great, the mistake is now the rhythm. And I think it's just so fun, but it is that's the instrument that I'm like, if you have the space and the time, like let your child play drums. Yeah. It's not gonna, they won't get psyched out about like fingering or like chords or whatnot. It's just sort of like hit that, then hit that, then hit that, and hit that.
Yeah. Well, and a wrong note, wrong chord.
Yeah.
It sounds like you just, as a child, you kind of, you curve inside. You're
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I really did a bad thing.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Because it is.
Isn't it funny how it's like even before you kind of, you don't have to know music theory, but you can always tell when it's like something's off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something, well, music played well is the greatest, played bad, it's the worst. It's just like improv.
Yeah.
When improv works, holy shit. When it doesn't, please kill me.
I feel like I talk a lot about how much I love improv, and I'm like, I think I've just been very lucky to mostly see good improv. And like, I'm not going to like, friends bringer shows or anything a lot. So I feel like when people talk about improv, I'm like, I love it. And they're like, it can be bad. I'm like, I don't see that stuff.
When I started out in Chicago, I always think about this is like one of those moments that's kind of like weirdly PTSD for me, but I wasn't a part of it. Thank God. I was just I was at IO in Wrigleyville, the second floor. I think I just had a class to finish, and there was the shows had just started downstairs, and they were laughing so hard, and I was like, "Whoa, that group is killing. Who is that?" And I'm leaving, and I go down, and I realize the laughter is really forced, and everybody on the stage they had some game going where this guy is doing just dumb stuff, and everyone on stage is like laughing at what he's doing really hard. And they thought that'd be a good initiation.
Yeah.
They're doing it way too long. And I look, and the audience dead silent staring, not a smile. And it was that thing of like, just let me get out the door. And I got out the door, and I remember just being like, oh, like there, but for the grace of God.
Yeah.
Like that could have been me to that group, eating it so bad.
Yeah.
And it's not even like that interesting of a story. But I mean, I remember being in that moment, being like, fuck.
It is one of the worst feelings in the world, being around like improvisers or stand-ups or performers of some sort, and you just feel like there's a silence in the room and they're not getting the reaction you want.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the reasons that I was just like, I cannot do stand-up anymore. Because it's like you do one joke that you're just like, oh, I thought that would do better. And you just the pin drop feeling, it's like, keep going. And in my head, I'm just like, I can't. I'm so taken over by that, and I need something. It's like I need a blanket at that point. I'm like, I need something else to fall back on, which is when I started doing like music and having other stuff where it's like, if nothing else, this is good for people to lean on.
Well, like talk about your special.
Sure.
It's called
Demi Adejuyigbe is going to do one backflip.
One backflip.
It's on Dropout TV, and it basically started as it was January 2020. I did a show with the same name. That was just a compilation of bits I had done at other people's shows where it's like I had a song, I had a PowerPoint, I had like just multiple songs and PowerPoints and like bits and stuff. And then as a joke, I was just like, I'm going to call it this so everyone will come and be like, is he going to do a flip? And then I was like, I guess I should do a flip. I think it'd be fun to do a flip at the end. And I had never done one. And there was a point at which I was like, I'm going to rehearse this. I'm going to practice. And it didn't happen. And so it was just me going, I just got to do a flip on stage, which I landed shockingly. Amazing. In a way that it was like, it's like I landed it, and any professional gymnast would be like, don't ever do that again. You got very lucky. Don't do that. But I think for me, so much of the stress was in getting the bits right, because it was the first time I was like, this is a me show. And so I was so worried about that when it came time for the flip, I was like, thank God the show was done. Yeah, we'll do this flip thing. And then,
whatever, just throw my feet over my own head.
Yeah. Truly, I was like, I bet that'll work. And I'm shocked that it did. And I think it should not have been rewarded. But then like 4 years later, I got asked to do the show again for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And we were like, okay, well, you can't just do a compilation. Like, there has to be like a through line and whatnot. And we sort of found a through line, and then like some stuff happened that changed the show significantly. And it became this new thing, and it just sort of took on a life of itself. It became like a consistent story, and I added like a sort of back reason as to why I was doing everything in the show. And it's like a one-man variety special where it's just me doing a bunch of different things, and like some of them are musical, some of them are like more performance and like character based, some of them have like other people coming involved, but it's just it's very like silly and clowny and fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean, I feel like now is a great time for it, because I remember when you first did it.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of those bits really funny, and I was happy to see it back, and I also went, oh, because now people are checking for that stuff more, where it's a little bit more, for want of another term, performy. Like the term clown gets thrown around a lot these days, and that's kind of like a very quote unquote hot thing in LA right now.
Yeah.
Like my kid's babysitter who lives with us, who's like a great person. And it's not even, people are like, oh, you have a nanny? Like, no, her rental situation just fell through, and so we made a room in the house.
Right,
and she lives in there, and she still writes plays and still puts stuff on. And she does a lot on the clown scene.
Yeah.
And if I were a different person, the clown thing would make me pretty fucking salty, because it's very funny. And she's been on the show. Her name's Kayla Munsey. She's awesome. But she'll like be like, oh, we're doing this show at midnight in an alleyway. It's sold out. Like the whole alley's packed, you know, kind of thing, where there is something there that people are really identifying with. Yeah. And I don't think necessarily what you do is clowning.
No.
But, you know, there's an element, if you do any kind of movement, goofy face or stuff in your act, there's an element of clown.
Yeah.
But to my point, you know, you're not just doing stand up, you're doing music, you're doing dance, you're doing a backflip.
Right.
So there's a variety of things. It's still comedy. And I think it's like, it was not necessarily a thing, like 5 years ago that like, oh yeah, there's not that everything has to have a niche, but I think there's much more of one for one now. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally. I think that I think this is a thing that has happened because the internet makes it hard for it's like it's one of those things where like
you can just stop right there. That's it.
The internet makes everything very.
It makes it hard for everyone.
But it's just like now that there's not one medium of entertainment for people where it's like you don't just go, I'm bored, I'm gonna go to the movies. There's like so many different ways to be entertained that it feels like everyone has to sort of like show up and show out. And there's so many people where it's like, I'm a comedian. It's like, well, now I actually don't know what that means because that is so different than what it was like even a decade ago. And I think that being a performer from the internet age means having so many more tools at your disposal than just talking. Right. And I think trying to transpose those to the stage is just trying to sort of capture that internet audience in a very IRL way. And it means that just a lot of things that people are doing now are multimedia, are more theatrical, and are more like involved. And I think it's awesome. I hope that it doesn't mean that people start to feel it like stand up or like actual like touring comics aren't as like popular. Because I think some of the best specials I've seen lately have been just straight up, this guy's telling jokes and they're good fucking jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That's the thing. It's like, I never felt personally like that's threatened. Like what I do is threatened. Like not ever. Not even back in the YouTube comic days of 10 years ago, longer, where it was just like, oh, they're selling out clubs and they don't have an act. And I'm like, well, then okay. I mean, that sucks that they took a weekend, but there's only 52 weekends a year. And there's always been a million of us.
Yeah.
And now it seems like there's way even more. But I also think that's not necessarily true. I just think platforms like Don't Tell, for example, has changed the game in terms of access, in terms of people being aware of all these lot of small town comics that were like legends in those areas or were really good and weren't necessarily getting seen. And now we're just kind of seeing everybody now. Yeah. And, it's very fun. I like that they, Don't Tell has, people like Susan Rice from Portland, who's like older, but always was a killer kind of thing. So it's nice. It's pretty democratic.
Exactly.
But the internet does make everything harder because you kind of focus your lens through that because it's a way to reach all these different people. But you're also like, like I started making stuff about, like I had jokes about being a dad and would put those up there and be like, oh yeah, you should be like a dad influencer. And I'm just like,
they want you to fill a niche.
Have that. Yeah. I don't have that bandwidth. I'll also lose my mind.
I think there's something in me that almost feel like resents that so much.
Sure.
The second it starts to feel like people get comfortable being like, he's the guy that does this, there's something in my head that's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do this anymore. And it's damaging because it means that I'm like giving up these things that I do enjoy, but also I start to feel a little like, oh, I'm losing the control of what it is.
I mean, was it? I think it was one of the great thinkers, Socrates, I think, said, to label me is to negate me.
Sure.
It's just, that's true.
Yeah.
And that always will pop in my brain. Yeah. And I'm not sitting here like I'm magically everything at all like that, but it's like, I'm not going to be doing just quick, snappy videos about, these jokes that have been done a million times already.
And then you also start to feel a little like, am I turning my life into content in a way where I'm no longer able to think of my life as something outside of that? Like I see things all the time where I'm just like, people are like walking around and then just being like, okay, so I just went on a date and start talking about it. I'm like, you just went on a date? Why? How does the other person feel about just being like, sorry, I'm content now?
You gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So
yes. Or even just like sort of
can you film this?
I would.
Can you film this?
If I ever.
The date's over, but can you film this?
I would be like, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Not in your life.
No. And then I see a lot of people talking about how it's just like, it's dating so hard. It's like, I've been on so many first dates. I'm like, and then you go and talk about them. You're making your life into content in a way that it's like, I don't think you are no longer thinking of yourself as a person and engaging with it. Or even just being like, I don't know. If you've ever embarrassed yourself on a date, the notion of them thinking, God, I hope this doesn't become a story for the internet.
I know.
Feels insane. But now it's so real.
Well, yeah. And the content originally was a phrase invented by the advertising industry, and then here we are. But I saw something that it's one of those things where I try not to judge people who put a lot of themselves online. I put some of myself, but I'm also very sparing about it. And I'm also not that good. I've gotten better, but I saw this. There's this woman. I get fed this woman who was basically preaching the gospel of streaming. If you're not streaming, you need to be streaming. And I've worked with a lot of campaigns. I've worked with, celebrities and entertainers and politicians and stuff, and on their streaming. And she she's just like laying like in a bed, just talking, and I'm going to try to nail what she said, but it just shook me. She's like, in the future, privacy will basically not exist, and people will not, they won't be purchasing your product. They will become fans of your life, your struggle, your process, and how you make the product, and then they will get the product, but they're going to need to see every step. And I'm like, I want to hang myself right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is an old man talking too. But the idea, and I've seen a guy my age who's like, I have a camera in every room in my house. Nothing gets lost. It's all content. I said to these guys, they clip it all out. I'm always putting content out. And it's his family. He's clipping out his family. He's got kids. I don't put my kid's face on
No, I don't think anyone should.
And it's like, Jesus Christ. Like, am I crazy?
No, I think there's... And the thing is, like, I would never sit here and be like, that's abusive or bad parenting or whatnot, because I'm like, it's all subjective.
I think that kind of is. That what that woman's talking about, if that's your game, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
I think she's right. People will want that. But it's just not my bag. And it sounds to me, off top, it sounds like too much a sacrifice of yourself, of your sanity.
Yeah.
For
what?
Yeah, like I think about those people on reality shows where they just live with camera people around them at all times.
Opting into the Truman Show feels like that's kind of the whole point is that it was bad. I don't know.
Yes, right. I don't know if you caught it. He lost his mind at the end.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think I also just don't. I feel so. I think this is a little thing of us being older and not even understanding the appeal. Because I'm trying to put myself
for saying us like we're in the same age bracket. But, you don't know. I'm going to be riding that cloud for a couple months now.
Us teens.
Dude, I remember being in a festival like 15 years ago with Bo Burnham, and he was like, well, people like Matt and I, our generation. I was like, oh.
Yes. Oh. You just walk around just like,
the warm feeling.
Yeah.
Because I knew he just didn't know how old I was.
That's great. He doesn't need to. He's just sort of like, I feel your spirit.
I'll take it, yeah.
But just like, I think that there is, I don't know where the cutoff is, but I feel like I just mentally cannot imagine being like, I gotta see what this family's up to. Like, I'm like, I don't care. Or even just, I think even in a smaller way, streaming, it's like, I understand that it's like personalities that people are a fan of, but I think I mentally don't understand, like, or don't feel the appeal where I'm just sort of like, this guy is streaming and I'm going to watch him play and he has a personality that I think is fun. It's like, I think I can understand it, but I just don't feel it. So It's a lot easier to just be like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't not look at them and go, ugh,
yeah,
you poor people.
And I'm sure that...
And you poor kids.
Yeah.
Let this kid grow up, man.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that generations before us saw the same things about like tweeting in general. And I think they were probably right also. So I'm like, I don't know.
But there's just something about it's all, I always think of the whole, this is dark, but the whole, never do porn because it never goes away.
Sure.
Kind of thing. I'm not saying never do a reality show. Not at all. Like I'm saying if that's your lane, but what you put out, it doesn't go. It's always going to be there. Get silly with it and stuff. But the whole thing of just, I can see myself. I never did Last Comic Standing because I worked as a PA for a reality television company that did shows like The Mole and what else did they do? Shop Till You Drop and like random stuff like that. But I saw them edit stuff to look like something, to make someone look different than the way they were, kind of thing. And I was like, oh. So they can just make anyone look like the dick or anyone do. I have no control. And I'm like, I remember I hate the idea of, I know I'm funnier than, when you say that about another comedian.
Yeah.
I was like, that pitting us against each other. It's shitty. But I also was like, that was that thing. I was like, I probably should, but I won't.
Right.
You know?
And it's not just that they can make anyone the dick. You have no control over whether or not someone decides that you're a dick. I feel like there are so many times I will do a show and then pop onto like the subreddit for that show or whatnot and just see people say something about someone else just being like, they had this energy that I thought was very like, why were they being so mean to them? I'm like, oh, we're all friends. I don't think that you're reading.
Funny,
and it's just like people will kind of just decide that someone was off-putting anyway. And you can be like, I'm just riffing with my best friend and be like, they kept going back to this thing. And I just feel like it was really mean. And it's like, no, this is someone I know. This is my friend. And it's just like that happens with so many different things where it's just like ultimately the audience has their own interpretation of things that's like no matter what the producers or whatever want to decide for you, it's like at a certain point it's death of the author all the way around. You can try and do something and be like, this is a joke, and everyone will be like, I thought that was really mean.
Yeah, I just did Comics Unleashed, and this comic, I'm blanking on his name, but I just met him that day, so it's allowed, but very funny. But he had a joke about how you can't ever tell. The thing about the term ugly is you can't say someone's ugly. Yeah, you have to say that you need to say, oh, so and so has not the face of the. And do you know Orion?
No, I don't think so.
Very funny guy. He young guy, and he was just like, he's like, oh, I just say he has Matt Braunger face, and it was like, and it said that, and I was like, oh, you son of a bitch, but I was like, it was so mean, but it was so funny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And he's like 27, good looking kid, but it was like that thing. But I'm like, if someone's gonna watch this and be like, what the fuck is wrong with that?
Yeah,
they're gonna hate that guy.
And what's funny is this is not the reasonable reaction, but anytime if I'm thinking about myself in that scenario and someone being like, that was mean, I'm like, you saying that's mean means you agree. It's like if they were like, oh, this guy, he's got Brad Pitt face, you just be like, what?
Yeah.
But it's like saying like he's got Matt Braunger face, you'd be like, aw. It's like, hey, calm down.
I could take the ball. Like he said it, and I immediately looked at the audience like confused, like gave this lost look, like, am I ugly?
Which is a true, that is the mark of a real comic, being like, I'm not here to like make my own joke. I'm here to just be like, I'm helping you get this joke off.
I'm not gonna flip them off.
Yeah.
Anything. Yeah. Just you keep the act moving for sure.
Yeah.
I posted this thing today about, I was thinking about how we're all a little bit spun out over the industry, quote unquote, collapsing or whatever it is, and what we're talking about with the not being able to get your voice in and how do you get seen and all that jazz. I was thinking about that Helen Keller quote about, security is basically an illusion. Life is either a great adventure or nothing.
Yeah.
Which, okay, Helen, that's pretty hardcore. Be a pirate or die. But at the same time, I really believe that. Like, not necessarily great adventure, nothing. There's gray areas here. But security and illusion, absolutely.
Yes.
So it's as much as I mourn for how sillily, honestly, better it was, I do like the fact that so many different multifaceted voices are coming to the forefront.
Yes.
Where it always used to be this, of course it was an old boys network. And then it opened up a little bit. And I remember, the stories of people going and doing a festival and coming back with like, a 6-figure development deal or something like that. That stuff. I just missed that era,
Yeah.
But I was in the era where people were just starting to put their sets online. So there still was a reason for new faces,
Yeah.
And it hasn't been, it's, you can find people like so easily. Like, how do you look at it now? How do you feel about it now? Are you
about like finding new voices? Or
do you feel, what do you think about like the future? Are you just bummed, or do you have a silver lining, or are you not bummed?
I think I'm very lucky that there's a few different things that I do that I don't feel like are like the main things. So every so often it's just like, this thing is sort of crumbling. I'm like, well, okay, I'll just kind of shift into doing more of this thing. Or I feel like I end up doing a lot of different things in a way that doesn't feel like I'm getting squeezed out in any one way.
That's great.
But I also feel like the only thing that bums me out about the future is the idea that we are losing the agency of what we enjoy. And it's fully just like the algorithm. And it's like so much of comedy and so much of like the things that we do are being designed to be performed and even like just executed in a way where it's like you're not thinking about the people in front of you, you're thinking about how it's going to be online.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that bums me out is someone's like, well, I want to be at a show and not just be like, okay, he's got to do crowd work, or he's got to like, if someone gets heckled, or like he's trying to rile up the audience so that he can have a clip of some sort.
Yes.
Which is like, just, that's not anything new to say. And I don't think it's bad, because a lot of times like that is funny, and it's a feeling of like improv, just being like, this wasn't planned and they're still so sharp. And it's that feeling of like, tickles the brain to be like, that's awesome that they are that sharp and I'm seeing it live.
Yeah.
I think it just upsets me to know that ultimately it's not our choice. It's not us going like, I think it'd be fun to do that. It's going, I need to do that in order to keep this going.
Exactly. And I will say one reason why crowd work blew up so much is because it is the moment where everyone wants to be in the moment. But to be in the moment, you got to go to a show, a real show.
And because it's something that that you can't put online, get viral, and then just be like, shit, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And the moment extends to dance, obviously, live music, anything.
Yeah.
I say this on stage. I was like, this is the only thing that AI will never be able to imitate. This feeling we're having right now, where you guys don't know if my next joke's going to be good. I might shit myself. We'll see.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're coming to be like, God, I hope tonight's the night he shits himself.
Come on, fill your pants. Yeah. You're getting older. Yeah, but it's that is the juice. Yeah. I don't remember the last thing I doom scrolled, streamed, even watched on the TV. I can't remember necessarily the last movie I saw in a theater, just because it's been a while. But I remember everything I've seen live.
Yeah.
I remember how I was feeling. I remember what I was going through.
Same.
I remember going, like same with live comedy. When I go to do a show, and it's like I lately I'm always trying to stay for more and more comics and not do what I used to do, which is
gotta go.
I'm done. Yeah. I did my thing.
There's a feeling I get now from watching people perform live, whether it's like comedy shows or like plays or something, where it feels the same way it's felt when I started taking Adderall, where I'm just like, I'm watching it and just going like, I gotta create. Like it's not even a jealousy. It's just sort of like a feeling of invigoration. Just like, this is awesome. It reminds me of why I love this. It reminds me of what's possible. And it's just like, you stick around for those things because you are just like, oh, I need this. I need this creatively to be around this kind of person and remind myself that I love it, and that a computer will never be able to like make it easier, and that the creation is the fun. It's the juice. Yeah. Like it is, as much as it's like a bummer to see a thing that's like, I made this and it's out and people are like, wow, that's cool. A lot of dumb people, by the way, who are just like, wow, it's Will Smith and he's in the Matrix now. And I'm like, okay, it's not that interesting to see a thing that, anyway, I think ultimately, the only reason to create is if you are enjoying the act of creation. You can't do it to be famous. You can't 100%. Do it for you can do it for sustenance, but it's like at a certain point, the only good reason to keep doing it, and the only reason that you gotta like just do it despite any technological advances, is because the feeling makes you feel alive. And I do feel like when I have a show that I'm working on right now that I'm like, I don't know that it'll work, but the notion of trying it out is so fun to me, and I'm like, I gotta just do it. Yeah. I want to do a show that's basically, I did this show where it was like called Characters Welcome, and in my special, I have a fake cardboard robot that I've built out of it's cardboard taped to an RC car, and it's just drive. It's called PunchBot, and I rebuilt it and did a show in New York where I kept being like, just announce me as me. And then immediately it would drive out and just be like, Demi Adejuyigbe cannot make it tonight. He was sick. I am an AI-powered crowd work comedian that is here to replace. And I just would like do bad crowd work, but like as an AI, and pretend that I couldn't hear anybody and be like, you have to speak up when they said their name. And I want to do something like that. That's just like a variety show hosted by two robots. And it's just me and someone else being like, now we have to improvise and we're across the stage from each other, not able to interact, and like operating these really shitty like RC cars around. And just, that's great. I'm like, I think it's so fun because it just, the spontaneity of that is fun, but also literally I had so much fun just making the robots in my front yard, just like carving shit, feeling like a child, just like gluing paper together, that I was just like, this is the juice. This is really like, I could do this just for one show and I'd be like, that was awesome.
Well, you can tell. Yeah. You can tell when someone had something that was burning inside them and had to come out. Yeah. When you read a script or you watch something and you're like, oh, someone had to tell that they didn't write the thing because, you know, they didn't write their movie about Siamese twins because Siamese twins are so hot right now or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's what everyone wants. Yeah. They wrote this thing, this weird fucking thing, or put this show on because, you know, and you can always tell when someone is like, when the only advice I give any comics when they want it is you just say the shit you think is funny.
Absolutely.
Do what you think is
are your
funny.
only audience.
I cannot tell you the amount of times I've looked at an audience and gone, I know what they want, and I'm so wrong. You know, the obvious one that I learned pretty early on is older crowds, they like filthy shit.
Yeah.
Because they grew up being told, no, don't. They don't want you to come out and say fuck shit.
No,
you know, all that stuff. But like, if you can put a little bit of dirtiness in and then you sneak in the F-bomb or whatever, they're like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is fun. This used to never be allowed.
It's all weird psychology of like figuring out what an audience, like what will surprise them and what like sort of, not even taboos, but just sort of what things they need to be pushed on.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, comedy is about pushing boundaries. I'm like, no, not exactly. You're so close. Yeah. But that's not entirely correct.
Yeah. No, if that were the case, it'd be so much easier.
It would gotta be so
All I have to be is offensive.
Yes.
And just pull back.
It's like they're not laughing, but they do seem upset. I'm killing it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like my mom used to get mad. She's like, why don't you do any political stuff? I'm like, I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
It's not as funny. Now I do much more political stuff, but just because I generally think you have to be political, but if you have an opinion, where are you? What
and
world
also,
do you live in?
Everyone's so tapped in now in a way that we didn't culturally used to be, that now it just feels a little like you don't have to be someone who reads like the Washington Post every day to be like, I can make a commentary about something that just happened.
Yeah, just one thing. I can throw this out, you know.
And that's enough to just be like, okay, we see where he stands.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of that thing of getting an audience to get to know you.
Exactly. Yeah. And like me or not.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I always get I have jokes about the trans people and stuff in my act, and it's not the fucking comics that are like, you gotta have a trans joke. They're not trans jokes. But anyway.
Right. Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, you know, I was like, I'm pro trans. People are like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't care either. But and that always gets a laugh.
Yeah.
Because people find that refreshing.
Yes,
they're like, good.
Yeah,
I don't matter.
That's not. Yeah, that's not the point.
That's not about. Yeah, this is not me trying to get clapter. You know.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah. So where can people see the special?
Ooh, it is on Dropout TV. Yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Okay. And I just learned what Dropout is.
I keep forgetting that I'm like, I actually have to explain. Sometimes I'm like, do you know what that is? And I'll just breathe a sigh of relief when they say yes. But it's a comedy platform. They have a lot of like comedy game shows and like a bunch of stuff. It's and they've just been doing a lot of specials lately. And they saw mine at Fringe and were like, do you want to put it on the platform? And I was like, yes, absolutely.
That's awesome.
And I am very proud of it. I think that for the longest time, I was like, this is something that I don't know can translate to a taped thing. And it was just like, I want people to be in the room for this. I want the energy of like the spontaneity and whatnot. Because it's a lot of like, it's based on a lot of the notion of surprise. It's based on the idea like, I don't know what's going to happen next and whatnot. Yeah. But I think we translated it very well, and I'm very proud of what we've done. So check it out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on the show.
Hey,
man.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah.